Today I would like to share my 3-ingredient artisan style bread recipe. No kneading required. It's an easy to make recipe and produces a wonderful golden crust with a soft and oh so tasty interior every time. It's perfect for sandwiches, for toast, or with one of my favorites, with beef stew. All ingredients are listed in the description below. You will need a large bowl, ideally with a lid that fits snugly. If you don't have a lid, you can also use plastic wrap. My recipe calls for 3 cups of all-purpose flour. At 135 grams per cup, that comes to 405 grams in total. If possible, use a scale to weigh this because 1 cup of flour can vary greatly depending upon how it's packed. And be sure to zero your scale to remove the weight of the container before adding the flour. You will also need 1 2/3 cups of water at approximately 110 degrees Fahrenheit. I find that cold water from the tap, zapped for 30 seconds in the microwave, works just fine. So the water should be warm to the touch, but not hot. Hot will kill the yeast. You will also need 2 teaspoons of salt and 1 teaspoon of regular yeast. I shortened this portion of the clip, but mix thoroughly for a good 2 or 3 minutes. Pour in the 1 2/3 cups of warm water and begin mixing. It's going to seem like it's too dry, not enough water, but don't be tempted to add more water. Just trust the process and just keep mixing, scraping up the sides and the bottom as you go. You might find it helpful to use a second spoon from time to time. As you continue mixing, scooping from the bottom onto the top, you will see that the flour will all blend together nicely. Cover with a lid or plastic wrap and leave out at room temperature for at least 2 hours. Mix the dough again from the bottom to the top. Cover and let it sit at room temperature for at least another hour. While waiting for the dough to rise a second time, pour 1 teaspoon of oil onto the center of your baking tray. Spread the oil evenly in the center area only, as this will be the only area where your dough will be placed. Optionally, you can sprinkle some cornmeal in this area. It helps prevent sticking, and I also find the toasted cornmeal adds a nice flavor to the crust, but it's not required. At the end of the next rise, roughly about an hour, sprinkle some flour on your countertop in preparation for the dough. Tilt the bowl upside down and use a spoon to help start the process of the dough falling out of the bowl. Tilt the bowl the other way about halfway through the process to help it release entirely. Sprinkle a bit of flour on what would be the sticky side of the dough and rub flour on both your hands as well. Flip the dough and form it into a rough rectangular shape. Then use all your fingers to make indentations across all the dough. When done, you should have a rectangle roughly about 12 inches by 18 inches, probably ½ an inch thick. Do try and make it somewhat even, but don't be too concerned at all if it's not perfect. Start rolling at the side closest to you. You can tuck in any ends that seem to be getting away on you. Pick up the dough, place it in the center of your baking tray. At your option, you can use a sharp knife to cut 1/2 inch deep diagonal slices along the top of the dough every 3 inches or so. I find it gives it that great artisan look. Cover with a paper towel and let it rise for about an hour. Preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit and set the timer for 30 minutes. When the oven reaches 400 degrees Fahrenheit, remove the paper towels and add the tray to one of the lower racks. Ovens do vary, but at 30 minutes your loaf should have a very nice golden crust. Move your fresh bread from the tray to a wire rack so it can cool evenly. And tempting as it might be, do not cut the bread when it's hot. Once the bread is cooled, you'll want to use a serrated bread knife to cut through the crust. I cut the entire loaf at this point and loosely pack it in a freezer bag. And whenever I want a slice of fresh bread, just leave it on a plate for a couple of minutes or 20 seconds in the microwave, and it tastes just like it came out of the oven every time. Oh, and those two end crusts I set aside, I have a habit of eating those with butter, some sharp cheese, and a glass of wine. Enjoy the recipe, and please let me know your thoughts in the comments below.